1, let's go.
Ashley, did you know We Need to Talk is going into its 10th season, and we are bringing a digital show every single week.
So we're going to highlight women in sports, whether you're playing, whether you're commentating, whether you're working behind the scenes. I'm looking forward to us having the platform to lead the charge in that.
I'm so excited to talk with you every single week on We Need to Talk now.
Everyone's in for a treat. It's going to be fun.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount+.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure.
Just try to keep up.
Every face-off.
This ends now.
And every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount+.
And now it's Darian Williams.
And this is who you want.
Knox will pick him up. Williams corkscrews up, off, and down! It's a 2-point lead. Final seconds. Wagner with it. Driving on Hawkins. Firing off. Texas Tech has won.
Texas Tech rallied from 16 down in the Sweet 16. 4 more games on the slate tonight. Ole Miss against Michigan State. Kentucky clashing with Tennessee in the late window. Number 1 overall seed Auburn plays Michigan, and the number 1 seed in the Midwest, Houston, against Purdue. You can watch these games on CBS and TBS. It is game day. Hello and welcome to Game Day Scoreboard. Hakeem Dermish here with former All-Big Ten at Northwestern Tim Doyle and 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting Adam Finkelstein. And alongside CBS Sports college basketball writer Chip Patterson here as well. We begin in the Midwest, our first SEC matchup of the tournament, Kentucky clashing with Tennessee. And you know what they say, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in the same season. Cats trying to do that tonight against the Vols in Indianapolis. Kentucky can become the 8th team ever to sweep an opponent 3-0 or better, including an NCAA tournament win. In the last 6 meetings, Kentucky is 5-1 against Tennessee. Games have been close, but the big difference has been the production from the 3-point line, as you see here. Now the Cats and Vols playing for a spot in the Elite 8. Our keys to victory for Kentucky, and Tim, one key is the 3.
Totally. I mean, this is a team that shares the basketball at an extremely high rate. They're not one-dimensional scorers. There's not one guy that goes out there and scores. Adam, they've assisted on nearly 80% of their buckets here in the NCAA tournament. But the X factor and key for them, I believe, is Lamont Butler. When you bring in a guy who's been around the block like Lamont Butler, who has made shots in the tournament, and he's not 100% coming into this NCAA tournament, I really felt after game number 1, because I have Kentucky go to the Final Four. I went, oh, no, I'm in trouble. But in game number 2, he bounced back. He was efficient. He's not at 100%, but he has to be a threat on the floor. He's a great two-way player. He gets others involved. You see game 1 versus game 2. I saw game 1, guys. I was like, oh, no, this is a bad Final Four pick. And then game 2, 5 shots. He banged down 4 of them, 2 of 3 from 3. Played great on the defensive end, which you always expect. This sauce that Mark Pope has is a unique sauce, okay? It's an older sauce. It's a sauce that's maybe been marinated, fermented a little bit. Guys that have been around the block. And everyone understands their role. It's an unselfish sauce. Let's spread the love around. So this is a Kentucky team. It's weird that they're underdog, but I just think they're simply better.
I think Mark Pope has done one of the best jobs of any coach all season long.
Totally.
They've played without both of their point guards for the vast majority of the season. We're talking about Lamont Butler. You're 100% right. He's really important. Kirk Kriisa hasn't been in the lineup in months. They've had Travis Perry. Travis Perry's the local freshman who was supposed to be like the fan favorite 4-year guy, and then all of a sudden in February he's playing 30 minutes because he's the only guard on the roster who can walk up and down the court. Here's the thing for them, though. Kentucky has beat Tennessee twice in a row because they shot 50% from the 3-point line. Tennessee has got to guard the arc better tonight. Tennessee has punished them on the glass. That's what it really comes down to. Tennessee's rebounding versus Kentucky's shooting.
Chip, how does Kentucky win this game?
One thing that I'm really looking at with this one, you know, you can't rely on the 3-point shot. We were talking about a move right now to Lucas Oil Stadium, and you know, sometimes you overblow what it's like to shoot from deep in a football stadium, but I think that especially with the early game, with the first one of the regional, that this is something you cannot rely on, which is why for Kentucky, for me, it's about points in transition, because you cannot let Tennessee's defense get set. If Tennessee sits back and gets a chance to get set, then they're going to make you work all the way through this shot clock. They are going to make you really stress and go through all of the different motions that Mark Pope wants to have. But Kentucky sneakily wins more when they're able to get out in transition. And sometimes it leads to transition threes. Sometimes it's a take it away going to the bucket. But those easy buckets are going to be what Kentucky needs to be able to win this game, where, as Tim mentioned, they are underdogs. So get the easy buckets when you can. Don't let Tennessee's defense get set.
All right, keys to victory for Tennessee, also the three ball. Got to shoot it better. Tim, how many threes would you say the Vols need to win tonight?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to put a number on it. I think any game where you go out there and make 10 is always a pretty good number. St. Mary's, they like to hold their opponents to 5 or less. But it also depends on how many you shoot, right? So it's going to be interesting with the big setting, with the big arena, with the depth perception. I remember playing at the Carrier Dome when I was in college 1,000 years ago, and I remember trying to pick up on that hoop, and it was a difficult thing. That's why Syracuse played the zone all those years. It kind of fit the style of the arena, fit their style of play. Tennessee, I wonder how much, Adam, the Rick Barnes effect. Right? Rick Barnes is always gets up this hill and can't get over it. I wonder, does that actually play a role? Because I've been watching this movie for 30 plus years, and it always ends the same way.
What is in that sauce?
Yeah, what's up with the sauce? Tastes as good just to the last bite or two. Sauce.
Here's what the sauce is all about for Tennessee. It's a top 5 defense in the country for 4 years in a row. The difference between this team and some of the previous iterations, this is the best offensive team we've seen from Tennessee in a long time. They're top 20 in the country, and it's not just about Chaz Lanier. Last year, it was if Dalton Connect's not making shots, Tennessee can't win. This year, Chaz Lanier makes shots, they win, but they've also got pick and roll options. They've got a 4-man who can stretch the floor, so there's different ways they can score this season.
Yeah, I'm going to focus on Chaz Lanier. I just think that there's something about having him heat up where he's playing with confidence, where he's checked into the game. We saw earlier this season, Rick Barnes pulls him out of the game because he didn't like where his headspace was at. So it's not always the most efficient shots, right? Chaz Lanier will love to get off the dribble and just, make a shot with a long 2. But can Chaz Lanier at least have that confidence so that when we do get into those critical possessions later in the game, he is feeling good. He is seeing the ball go through the hoop. It is just a different level offensively when they've got him going. So I do think that that's a big, big key where, you know that you've got Gainey. Of course, Zakai Ziegler is going to bring it. Meshack might be able to give you some good hard minutes. But, man, when Lanier got flamethrowers coming out of his pocket, it's just a little bit of a different level that the Vols can hit offensively.
Tough to beat a team 3 times in one season in any sport. Tim, do you have Kentucky beating Tennessee 3 times in one season?
I find it very unusual that they're underdog and by this amount. I get it if it was a little bit closer. I watched those 2 games. One game, Lamont Butler didn't even play, and Kentucky won. I picked them, but this was a game, full disclosure. All right, I can show everybody my bracket. I can put it on Twitter. I wrote Tennessee, crossed it out, put Kentucky, and then have Kentucky beating Houston. So that's how difficult I felt like this game was. I had them going to the Final Four originally. They're going to have to shoot it well. They're going to have to get 5 or 6 guys in double figures. Frankly, eyeball test, I watched both games. I just think they're better.
So you're going Kentucky?
Correct.
All right, I'm going Tennessee. They were my Final Four pick in the beginning. You said you have Kentucky all the way to the Final Four. I've got Tennessee. Like I said, I think this is the best offensive team we've seen from Rick Barnes in quite a while. They are always the standard defensively. Like I said, 4 straight years in the top 3 defensively. That's amazing.
Do you think the sauce is a little different this year? Maybe he had
a little more spice this year. It's not so bland. A little more spice this year.
Chip, what do you got?
Rocky Top. This got to be it. You are playing this game all the different ways and the heartbreaks and the thrilling successes. This has built you for this moment. Kentucky getting here has got to feel like it's the reward. It ain't the reward for the Tennessee Volunteers. This is so much of last year's group trying to make sure that they can take that next step. I don't see them going down in the Sweet 16.
Do you know what happened on this day 33 years ago? Christian Laettner hit the shot over Kentucky. Kentucky will not feel heartbreak today. Kentucky will feel joy for beating a team 3 times in one season.
Are you giving like a eulogy or something?
Kentucky. Give me Kentucky. I'm giving you the funeral voice into the excitement.
The funeral voice.
Right? It's into the excitement.
Do you have to do that as a reporter when you interview the losing coach? Do you have to take it down to the funeral voice?
You bring it down a bit, but I'm not a fan of going full. Sorry, like the.
I did a golf event once.
You got to change your voice for golf.
Play-by-play, yeah. And I used kind of my my bedroom voice, and that was a bad idea. Like I went like a little more like lower. Hey.
Well, whatever voice we use, whatever voice we use, we got Kentucky. So we got two Kentucky, 2 Tennessee. Tennessee seeking back-to-back Elite Eight appearances for the first time in program history. UK seeking its 35th Elite Eight. Still ahead.
You don't have a bedroom voice, Hakeem?
The winner of the Kentucky.
There we go.
Is the winner of Houston-Purdue. Boilermakers playing a virtual home game in Indy. We'll break it down next. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, the #1 seed in the Midwest, Houston, taking on Purdue at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, a little over an hour away from the Boilermakers campus in West Lafayette, a beautiful campus, I might add. According to Ken Pom, Houston, #1 in defensive efficiency, while Purdue is 8th in the nation in offensive efficiency. Purdue 0-8 all-time against 1 seeds in the NCAA Tournament. Houston is rolling, winning 15 straight, 28 of their past 29 games. Tip time set for just after 10 p.m. Eastern time. Back here with Tim Doyle, Adam Finkelstein, Chip Patterson. Both teams like to grind it out on offense. Two of the top three-point shooting teams. Houston first in D1 at 40%, Purdue 10th at 38.5%. Tim, keys for victory for the Boilermakers here in their home state.
I've been doing this 17 years, and early in my career, I was told not to be too critical of college players because they're not professionals. Well, now they are, okay? So Foster Loyer, you're going to have to make some shots, buddy. You know, throughout this tournament, you're shooting 31% from the field. You've taken 11 threes. You've only made 3 of them on the biggest stage last year in the Final Four. Where were you? You know, we all talk about with Purdue, obviously it's TKR. He's getting you 20 points a game. Braden Smith's one of the best point guards in the country. But Foster Loyer has to have a game, Adam, if they're going to knock off a team like Houston where he has 18 points. He bangs down 5 threes. He makes impact plays. Teams like Houston wipe out Foster Loyer. So he has to have some sort of impact if they're going to pull off the upset.
And I think the reason why he is so important in this game is because they're going to blitz that ball screen. They're going to take that ball out of Braden Smith's hands. They're going to give it to Trey Kaufman-Renn, and then he's got to play 4-on-3. So the big fellas, whenever you're playing Houston, your bigs need to be able to make decisions. Oftentimes that's going to end up in a kick-out 3, and then to your point, Loyer and the other guys, they're going to have to make shots. It starts with taking care of the basketball, and then it finishes with your front court players being able to read the floor and make decisions almost like guards.
Yeah, for Purdue, I'm actually going to go to the defensive side. Interior defense. There was a point in late February where the Boilermakers were just getting shredded. I mean, we're talking about those losses to Wisconsin and Michigan State where their teams were just getting everything they wanted. And the same thing happened when they got into the Big Ten tournament and ultimately got bounced by Michigan. And now they're going to be going up against a Houston team that, while they do sometimes, try to get LJ Cryer hot from outside, Milos Uzan loves to get to the bucket. They like to use their bigs to be able to get good shots inside. And so I really look at this as being something where Purdue's weakness could be something that I know Kelvin Sampson is going to want Houston to exploit. And for that reason, Purdue's just got to have an answer, because I'm sure in the scout, this is the one thing they're pointing to in terms of how Houston gets buckets.
Purdue with 51 NCAA tournament wins, the most by a school without a national title. Houston, 6 Final Fours, most by any school without a national title. Tim, keys for the Cougars tonight are what?
I think you got to push pace here. This is a different Houston team, and that's why I know that people like yourself are picking them to cut down the nets when it's all said and done, okay? But over the last 5 games, this is not your oldest child's Houston team. That would be for me, okay? Like back in the day, Houston would win every game 58-55, 61-52. Over the last 5 games, we're seeing repeatedly, time and time again, over 70 points. Check this out, 76 points from a Houston team. We have not seen that during any of these last 4 seasons where Kelvin Sampson has won 30 games. You have to say it that loud, because in this basketball climate, to win 30 games 4 seasons in a row, I think is frankly insane. He's added more shooting. This is his most talented offensive team. Yeah, he may have had more talented individual players like a Quentin Grimes, who's obviously still in the NBA, but this team spreads it around. That's why I think they are a legit threat, Adam, because they could score the basketball. It makes them different than the rest of the teams.
Houston's got a similar story to Tennessee in that they are great defensively as always. In fact, they're the #1 defense in college basketball. But this is also their best shooting team, and to your point, a team that has been very slow throughout recent years, and even throughout this season up until the last few weeks, is now starting to pick up the pace and get some easier baskets. To me, though, this comes down to winning the math, which is basically another way of saying Houston has to play their own game. Houston has like a football mentality to basketball. They want to win the possession battle. That means winning the glass, forcing turnovers. Those are the 2 things they pride themselves on. Ultimately results in having more possessions than Purdue. I think Houston is the better team, which means that if they play their game, they're going to win. Playing their game wins, means getting more possessions than Purdue.
Oh, man, he's talking football. He's getting my engine going, Hakeem. Look, because what does Kirby Smart say? Kirby Smart says do simple better, right? Yep. Be yourself. Go out there and do the small things well. Do you know what Houston does just in their DNA? Defend the ball screen. Defend the pick and roll. Houston is going to have the exact answer for the one thing that has made Purdue's offense really, really good. And that's that 2-man game with Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. And the fact that according to Synergy, we're talking about a Houston defense that ranks 10th nationally, allowing 0.6 points per possession in the pick and roll. I kind of think that means you negate what Purdue does the best. Therefore, you just allow yourself to be able to win playing your kind of game. Could not agree more.
Two of the most experienced teams left in this tournament, Houston and Purdue, have the most NCAA tournament games played by their rosters among the Sweet 16 teams left in this tournament. Boilermakers 0-8 all-time versus 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Tim, is it about to be 0-9?
Yes. I give them a very small percentage shot of winning this game. Last game against McNeese, if they want to have it be competitive, open up 6 for 6, because that's what they did last game. Last game they opened up 6 for 6, and then everyone was like, oh, I'm confident, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and God darn it, people like me. Like, their whole energy changed in that game, and then that game was not close. Good luck trying to do that against Houston. I give them slim to no chance.
Their best chance, in my opinion, is getting the crowd into this game. This is a home game for Purdue. We talked about this last night. This is not right that Houston is the #1 seed. They're basically on the road playing Purdue in their backyard. I still think that Houston's the better team. I still think they're winning. Ultimately, I think they're getting to San Antonio, but they have to play essentially a de facto road game tonight. They are the better team. They're going to move on.
Yep, going to go Cougs. Don't need to overthink this. They are deserved favorites, and they might win by a lot.
Same. Houston. I picked them to win the national championship, so they got to win this game.
So it's hard for me.
They got to win the next 3.
It's hard for me to pick against Purdue. You know why? Gene Katie, the former Hall of Fame coach, came to my wedding.
Yep.
Gave me a cash gift.
The best kind.
And I think it was $500. But it might have been $1,000. It was in between there, so he was at the gold table. I had silver tables, gold tables, and then platinum tables. He wasn't a platinum giver, but he was a gold giver.
Cash gifts are always the best. Purdue seeking back-to-back Elite Eights for the first time in program history.
Chip would be a platinum giver
last year. Chip he's a kind man. Houston seeking its first Elite Eight since 2022. Michigan looking to knock off the #1 overall seed tonight. In his first season in Ann Arbor, Dusty May bringing the magic to Michigan, leading the Wolverines to 27 wins. The most wins for a Michigan head coach in his first season. With a win tonight, he can join Roy Williams, John Calipari as the only head coaches to lead multiple programs to an Elite Eight in a 3-year span. He got at FAU to the Final Four just 2 years ago. All right, back here with Tim, Adam, and Chip. Another virtual home game scenario here. Auburn's campus about 2 hours away from the Tigers campus. Michigan travels well, but a massive Auburn crowd will be a factor. Adam, I'll start with you. What has to happen for Michigan to knock out the #1 overall seed?
Well, it starts with what it always starts with Michigan, and that is taking care of the basketball. For as good of a season as they have had, believe it or not, they are very turnover prone. In fact, they are 324th in the country in ball security. Now, the good news is Auburn, for as good as they are defensively, they don't really force a whole lot of turnovers. But Michigan, it has to start there. And the guy you're watching, he is a key. Danny Wolf, for as skilled as he is at his size, just under 7 feet tall, he is turnover prone, over 3 per game. He's got to make good decisions with the ball. And then Trey Donaldson knows a little something about this Auburn team. He's got to settle down and take care of the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Michigan, this is a game that you cannot have just Danny Wolf play well. You need Vlad Golden to deliver. You need both these guys to be playing at an extremely high level. I think Michigan gets in trouble when they go into droughts and they stop throwing the ball to Vlad Golden. He has improved in leaps and bounds from when he was a freshman at FAU. He could score with his left hand. He could post up. They have a difficult time getting him the ball. I'm fascinated with the matchup in this game, because Auburn has 2 very good big guys in Broome, and Dylan Cardwell is one of the best defenders in all of college basketball. I'm curious who's going to guard who. Broome's not moving that well right now. So if he guards Wolf, Danny's going to be dancing on the perimeter. If he guards Vlad Golden, I feel like that's a better matchup. But Vlad sets a lot of pick and rolls. He could be caught in no man land. It's going to be an interesting chess match.
A lot of length, a lot of athleticism with this Auburn team. Sometimes a little handsy, get their hand caught in the cookie jar, getting a little bit of foul trouble. But ultimately, I agree that this is about whether this Michigan backcourt can continue what I think has been some pretty decent performances in terms of letting that turnover bug cost them. Trey Donaldson was great, I thought, in the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, you get a great performance from Roddy Gale off the bench here in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. But, you know, what happens here if maybe Auburn, the other side of that, knows what Trey Donaldson doesn't like and knows how to get him in compromising positions? Can Michigan take care of the ball and avoid, you know, those easy buckets for Auburn, a team that, man, they just need the easy buckets to get their mojo back. They've been in a funk, 3-3 in their last 6. The form hasn't quite been there. Don't let Auburn get that building rocking and rolling with some turnovers and transition buckets the other way, Michigan's got to take care of the ball.
Michigan has a knack for playing close games. 13 wins by 4 points or fewer this season, most by any D1 team in 40 years. Auburn won each of its first 2 NCAA tournament games by 12 or more points. Tigers are the only team with 6 players with 10-plus points per game during this NCAA tournament, not led by Player of the Year candidate Janai Broom. It's freshman Tahad Pettiford. Adam, what's the key for the Tigers tonight to move on?
I actually want to dig into something Tim said and get even more granular with.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Is this nerdy basketball?
Nerdy, yeah,
let's
for sure.
Let's do it. Go ahead.
Sure. So Michigan's pick and roll, you talked about that. It's a different kind of pick and roll because lots of times it's a 4 or 5 pick.
Big on big.
It's golden screening for Wolf. How is Auburn going to guard that? I think they're going to end up switching it, but you also noted that Broom may not be moving like he's 100%.
He's not.
So what does that do to the matchups? What does that do when they switch that? Is that something that Michigan can exploit? That 4-5 pick and roll for Michigan has been the key domino to their offense all season long, and Auburn's ability to defend it will set the tone for how they defend all night long.
Yeah, so basically Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf have to play great. And Danny Wolf can play great in different ways. He could have 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 18 points. Vlad Golden needs to have 22 points, 12 rebounds. They both can't have like 12. So they're going to be in big-time trouble. So both these guys have to step up if Michigan's going to be competitive. I think Michigan's fortunate to even be playing in this game. If you see San Diego make some threes, bye-bye, they would have been home. Because they didn't, and they ended up living another day, and now they come to this game against Auburn. This is such an interesting handicap for me. I think Michigan could lose this game by 25, and I think they could win. Like, I'm all over the board. More than likely, I think they're going to lose this game by 25. But Auburn, Janai Broom is not a 100%. Don't believe me? Look inside the numbers here in the NCAA tournament. We're talking about a guy who's up against Cooper Flagg for the National Player of the Year. And he's averaging 11 points in the tournament. He's shooting 40% from the field. Just go back and watch his movements. Watch his explosion. It's not there. So we've seen Auburn get emotional before. Maybe they get a little tight. Last year lost to Yale. They're one of these teams that when it's going good.
You can pick on Ole Miss, but don't pick on Chad Baker-Mazara. Just for your own safety, don't pick that one.
I think that this game could be 25 or Michigan could win. So Auburn's a hard team, Chip, for me to handicap. They're so emotional, but they are so talented.
So who you got winning then?
I have Auburn.
Okay. Yeah. You got Auburn. Adam, who you have?
Auburn.
Chip, who you got?
Oh, I got Auburn winning this. It's going to be the reason why it's a hard handicap, Tim. I'll tell you, because both coaches are going to make adjustments. It's a pass the chalk game. Dusty May on one side, Bruce Pearl on the other. Let's see how let's see what we show. Let's see what we make the adjustments. Bruce Pearl's been a big second half adjustment guy. We've seen it with better second halves from Auburn all season. I would not be surprised if Michigan leads at halftime and Auburn wins by 10.
Auburn, across the board. They're the #1 overall seed for a reason. They're the better team. I'm an Ohio State fan. There's not a chance I will ever pick Michigan to win a game.
That's not true. You picked them recently.
That's true. You're right. I picked them to beat. Hey, just a friendly reminder, Auburn lost 3 of their last 4 games prior to the NCAA tournament. No team has ever won the national championship after losing 3 of their final 4 games. Auburn looking to get back to the Elite 8 for the first time since 2019. Got to the Final Four that year. Michigan looking to advance to the Elite 8 for the first time since 2021. Tip time for that game just around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. Closing in on tip-off for our first game tonight. Tim Doyle motivating Ole Miss to get to the Sweet 16. Can they get past Tom Izzo and Michigan State? We'll break it down next on Game Day Scoreboard. Closing in on tip-off in Atlanta. First game of the night between Ole Miss and Michigan State. The Rebels run to the Sweet 16, fueled by our own Tim Doyle. He called them frauds on Selection Sunday. He's inspired an entire campus and community in Oxford. Chris Beard's bunch facing its toughest test yet, taking on Tom Izzo and the Spartans for a spot in the Elite Eight. He's done it before. Beard beat Izzo in the 2019 Final Four with Texas Tech. Back here with Tim Doyle, Adam Finkelstein, Chip Patterson. Ole Miss coming off an upset win over Iowa State, thanks in part to Sean Padula. Tim, what are the keys for the Rebels tonight to move on and take down the Spartans?
Yes, Tim, what are the keys for the Rebels?
You know, this Michigan State team is a throwback team to when I played in the Big Ten. And we always talked about when we were at Northwestern, Michigan State gets out the football pads. They're tough. They hold you. They rebound. They go to the glass. They get to the free throw line. Well, that's this Michigan State team. I frankly thought that Tom Izzo was going to retire, just like all of his counterparts. The Roy Williamses, the Jay Wrights, the Tony Bennett's, the Mike Krzyzewskis. I thought he was going to be like, I'm good. Like, I'm not going to deal with this. But he's kind of, his sauce is interesting. He's got some older guys, 3-4-year guys, 7 different guys, average 7 points a game. He's taken some mid-major guys. He's sprinkled them in. Everyone understands their role. Everyone has bought into this total team concept here. So you asked me my keys for Ole Miss.
I did.
They got to rebound. And when you play Michigan State, you have to rebound because they're going to bring the physicality.
Yeah, simply put, Ole Miss is 226th in the country in defensive rebounding. Michigan State is 19th in the country in offensive rebounding. So that's a pretty glaring outlier and something that's going to have to be addressed if Ole Miss wants to pull ahead in this one. I'll also highlight, I think Sean Padula gives them, down the stretch, if this game gets close, Ole Miss has a clear closer. Michigan State does not have a clear closer. So if it gets to the final minutes, that could be a differentiator as well.
Jace Richardson, not a closer for you yet. Maybe.
He averages 12 points a game. Right? No, I don't think we can say put the ball in his hands and take us home.
Okay, Chip, your keys here for the Rebels.
Don't get bullied. Punch the bully in the face. I mean, bring the fight early. Chris Beard talked this week. He said, we have to match Michigan State's level of toughness. And so for an Ole Miss team that is a little bit undersized, going up against a Michigan State team that has bodies on bodies on bodies in the front court, you need to get out there and make shots, but you also need to make sure that you are letting Michigan State know that you are not going to be punked here on this night in Atlanta.
Yeah, they're not going to get punked, Tim. Chris Beard beat Tom Izzo in 2019 in the Final Four with Texas Tech. Izzo looking to avenge that. The Spartans bench has been outstanding through 2 games, 82 points off the bench. One of the bench players, Cohen Carr, had 18 in their first-round game. He is going to make his first collegiate start tonight in his hometown of Atlanta. So pretty cool moment for the Cohen Carr family there. That's going to be awesome. Tim, bench points a big factor for Michigan State. Your key for victory for the Spartans.
Yeah, they have to slow down Sean Padula. I mean, there's no other way to say it. You know, trust me, I was rooting so hard for North Carolina in that game because I called Ole Miss. I apologize. I called them a fraud. But, you know, they were fortunate to get matched up with North Carolina, who I think everyone agrees should have been in the tournament. But Padula made every key shot. He made a runner. He made a 3. And you check out the numbers so far here. Guy's been fantastic. Look at those names that he joins. You know, some tournament legends out there and memorable names and a Hall of Famer like Draymond Green. So, got to slow down Padula. You talked about it, Adam. He is the guy that when things get rough, when they go in a rut, he has to go out there and make a play off the dribble, shoot a 3. They must eliminate him some way. He has been special, and that's why they're playing.
You know, for Michigan State, I think it comes down to the easy points, and I'm going to categorize these in 2 different ways. The first one is points in the paint. This Ole Miss defense, they are a high-risk, high-reward defense. They block a lot of shots. They force a lot of turnovers. But what they do is they commit a lot of fouls, and they are not a great defensive rebounding team, as we said. So that should theoretically give Michigan State an opportunity for second-chance points and an opportunity to get easy points at the free throw line. If they can win those 2 areas, points in the paint and points at the free throw line, they will win this game.
I'm kind of along that same mindset, Adam. I think about how Chris Beard put together a game plan that held Michigan State to 51 points when Texas Tech went up against Michigan State in the Final Four. And I know that Chris Beard does a good job of preparing his defense to take away whatever you do the best. And so if life is going to be difficult for Michigan State's offense, which can get cold and can start to spin its wheels a little bit, then it is anything easy. It is offensive rebounding. It is anything in transition. It is anything at the free throw line. Anything that you can do that's easy, you've got to cash it in, because Chris Beard's whole mentality with the way that they're defending Michigan State is going to be make life as hard as possible.
Tom Izzo 9-0 against teams from the SEC in the NCAA Tournament.
Wow.
His most wins against any conference. Tim, does he make it 10-0?
I hope so. I like that. Ole Miss has been a hard handicap for me. So I had Michigan State before this tournament started in the Final Four. I don't want to give Chip and Adam, Chris Beard any more free motivation, any more free bulletin board material. He's making $5 million a year. Last year, Chip, I made $68.5. Yeah, I mean, $5 million. Venmo me, Chris Beard. I'm setting the whole bulletin board material. Michigan State wins this game, but honestly, I'm not sure.
I just want you to know that I have seen Chris Beard's teams practice, so I'm picking Ole Miss. That's all I got to say.
Chip?
Hey, look, they put together a good scout. I think that Cohen Carr, Jace Richardson. I think that we're going to see that this Michigan State team, which has delivered so many memorable moments from this season, it feels like the 2019 team that made it to the Final Four. I think Michigan State's got the ability to reach that level again.
Michigan State advances. Michigan State advances. Tom Izzo 10-0 against the SEC. Ole Miss, a valiant run, but
somebody's got to represent Mississippi.
It comes to an end. Comes to an end. Ole Miss seeking its first Elite Eight in program history. Michigan State looking for its first Elite Eight since 2019. Have never gone 5 seasons without a Final Four appearance. Tom Izzo in his 30th season looking to get him back there. Coming up, a stunner in the NBA. Memphis fires head coach Taylor Jenkins. So what's next for the Grizzlies? That's next on Game Day Scoreboard.